And we're live. Hello, good evening and welcome. Hello, good evening and welcome to Broadsheet on the Telly. My name is John Preposterous Ryan, and our panel tonight includes Johnny Keenan, known to everyone on the site, Neil Curran, Safe Pair of Hands, Olga Cronin from The Sheet, Laura Gaynor, and Vanessa Forum. I want to apologise to Vanessa. I got her name wrong, her surname wrong on the last show. And speaking of the last show, we were supposed to. We abruptly cancelled last Thursday because I'd fallen asleep.
John, I told everyone we were partying.
Well, I'd fallen asleep.
We weren't. I was asleep.
How did you fall asleep?
But in between my sleep, the Wi-Fi in this building went off, meaning that I wasn't going to be woken up by this alarm. And so I woke up about 1:53, and obviously the show had not happened, and I'd let everybody down. So I'm very, very sorry, and it won't happen again, I promise. I was just going to go to first. We're going to talk about Kevin Myers and the housing, direct provision, and the RT top 10 salary payouts, and we'll all the panel will reveal the money that they're being paid to do this at the end of the show. So, but first we're going to go to Olga with tomorrow's newspapers, what there is of them.
Yeah, because we don't have many, but we have the Examiner, so we'll go there. So just let me know you could see that. Can you see that? Yeah. So you can see that. Sorry.
Yeah, we can see that.
Sorry. Yeah. So the lead there on the right, HSE IT flaw casts doubt on whole system. So basically, this is the story that was all over the airways and everything today about. There was an error in the IT flaw in relation to a less than symbol wasn't coming through, and so what people were getting in regards to results and X-ray scans and X-rays and scans and stuff weren't a true reflection of what actually they should have got. So anyway, this is a story by Joyce Fagan, and she's, as the headline says, HSE IT flaw casts out on whole system. Fundamental error in computer programming affects the reading of 25,000 medical scans. The reliability of the HSE's entire software system has been called into question after an IT flaw affecting 25,000 medical scans was detected. So, so this is in relation to X-rays, MRI, CTs, ultrasounds since 2011. I think actually someone on the radio this morning, what the doctor from Cork was saying, that if anything, people probably would have been treated better because of it, because of the nature of the less than symbol. So they would have got, if anything would have happened, they would have actually got better care, but I don't know. But there's that. There's a story on the left, which is kind of disturbing. Youths detained indoors for over 7 days by Niall Murray. So this is in relation to Oberstown. Children may have had no fresh air for over a week while being separated from others at Oberstown Detention Centre. Inspectors have found records at the Centre for Young Offenders suggest at least 2 children who were on single separation had no fresh air or outdoor exercise for 7 or 8 days. So, and I think, yeah, the lack of robust oversight and monitoring by managers of incidents in which children spent prolonged periods in single separation prompted HIQA inspectors to find major non-compliance with care standards at Oberstown. I think I heard earlier that they were saying that the reasons given for these children going through this weren't always very clear. So, but there were over 3,000 incidents of single separation last year, and 8 different children were involved in the 148 cases across a 4-month period for which HIQA reviewed records. So that's Oberstown. There's a story on the bottom there. Groupthink dangerous for society, says Ceann Comhairle. So this is also by June McEnroe. The Ceann Comhairle says he's frightened by groupthink, which is extremely dangerous for society in the wake of what he termed as robust criticism of the Garda Commissioner. So at the very end of this article, it does mention that he is friends with Noreen O'Sullivan, and he went to school with her husband. But yeah, so
so
there's
the
that.
groupthink is dangerous around the fact that
how she's been robustly, how she's been maybe criticised. So he says that people need to be treated fairly, not just by politicians, but by the public. Speaking about the previous concerns he's raised about groupthink in society, this is a point that is not solely attributable to the public attitude to the Garda Commissioner. I think we have to be in our approach to issues of public policy and public controversy. We have to be scrupulously fair, balanced, and honest. Therefore, I'm frightened by situations, whatever the situation might be, in which an idea is put abroad that something is intrinsically good or intrinsically bad, and everybody buys into that in an uncritical and unquestioned way. That to me is groupthink, and that to me is extremely dangerous and extremely damaging for democracy. So it also says here, Juna McEnroe also recalls that, like, in March, Mr. O'Farrell described Noreen O'Sullivan as brave after she faced hours of questioning in at the Public Accounts Committee, if you remember, in relation to the 1 million fake breath tests.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
Well, okay.
And then
he's talking about you, Johnny.
Is it? What did he say?
So he just frightened in regards to the groupthink, in regards to, I suppose, the criticism of Noreen O'Sullivan, or how she is being questioned. I guess he's talking about how she's been kind of repeatedly asked to stand down by certain people or certain sections of the Dáil, and it's just been kind of put on. She's on holiday now at the moment, by the way. She's on extended holiday until the end of the month.
Can I just say I was the first to ask her to stand down?
Well, it'll probably all kick off in regards to the Charlton inquiry. I'm not going to bore everyone, but it will get interesting come November, because that's when the tribunal is going to look at the stuff that Superintendent Dave Taylor is saying that he was asked to say to journalists by Martin Callan and Noreen O'Sullivan. He's alleging, so that would be more of that. So. And
that's the only Irish paper, is it?
That's the only Irish paper we have, unless it's come in there now in the last minute. But no, that's the only Irish paper we have. I'm sorry.
I've got today's FT, if that's any use.
No thanks.
Oh.
No. Well, thanks, Laura. In fact, I was going to go straight to Laura, who is going to discuss developments on our tenant landlord Tinder grinder / whatever you're having.
So I've been, it's kind of funny. Like, I put out a post on a real flatmate page. I've been kind of reeling in the different people to convince them to take part. So, like, I'm nearly there. Like, I think once I get the first batch of people to agree to take part in decent gaffes and to put their faith in me, which I suppose is quite a terrifying thought for some people. Then we will be doing good. So I'm nearly there. I'm seeing if I can find the post that I put out, because I think a lot of people were messaging me on Facebook thinking that I have a place going. So I'll see if I can find it. Okay, hold on a second. Like, right. Are you ready for this? Okay, brace yourselves, because I'm about to share a screen. Okay, are you ready? You're ready? Okay, right. Okay. So, can you see my Facebook page now?
Yes.
Yeah, so, like, as you can see, people really have, this person is, I'm desperate. Actually, I really need a place. So a lot of people, think, a lot of people really do think that I have somewhere to, that I actually have a place going. But then I'm messaging these people and trying to explain the whole humor of it, the Irish humor of the Lonely Hearts ad to some of these people who are from different cultures. So it's very funny trying to explain the whole idea of it. But we're nearly there,
We've lost you. Oh, there you are, Laura. We lost your camera. So
I'm back again.
So launching Monday then. We'll have decent gaffes, which is going to be at if you're a landlord or a decent landlord or a decent tenant, if you're somebody looking for a house share, you want to advertise that you're a great tenant and the type of place you want to live in and the neighbourhood you want to live in. And I suppose it's ostensibly Dublin, but it could really be anywhere in Ireland.
First Dublin and then the world.
Laura, someone's on your buzz, Laura. I seen this yesterday. I thought it was you, but can I just read it out? I won't read out any details because it's just on Facebook. But double room to rent. Anyone interested? $550, Dublin 15. Ensuite. P.S. Please scroll down. 1. Sense of humor required. 2. No Leo Varadkar supporters allowed. Thank you. Smiley face.
Sorry.
3. Good taste in music required. Example, Enya and the Cranberries. I don't know. Is that an oxymoron? 4. Must be willing to do a personality test, preferably someone with the logical strengths of an ISTJ, reliable, pay bills and rent on time, but the caring abilities of a ENFP, whatever that is.
It's Bristol. It's the Bristol Myers test. I can't remember what it is. I is introverted and X is extrovert, or E is extroverted.
Neil, don't they use that test for the guards? Is that how
they
you
do? Yeah. No, that's how. I'm just correcting a few at the moment. Can't find Noreen's though.
Okay, so scrap this one. This looks like a false sense of security. I know, only messing. Hobbies could include canvassing, hill walking, cinema, art, dancing, politics, drinking, socializing, reading. By the must be able to cook, cleaning important too, baking non-essential. Distinguished appearances, preferably mature, blah, blah, blah. So, that's not a million miles away from the kind of vibe you were looking for, Laura, is it?
Yeah.
It's nearly there. I think I have the actual, I'm going to get the actual tweet now. Hold on a second.
The rent is reasonable anyway, $550.
Oh, that's it. Well done, Laura, yeah. That's a sign. I think that woman is a Scientologist. I think that's the bit at the beginning, the... Have you been audited or whatever? I think she's like that's a Scientology
stuff.
Or can you put that up again?
Yeah,
I
like this one. Someone added must have wooden leg but with real foot.
Yeah,
sounds like a pirate. Arr.
Is that a room you have to rent there, Johnny?
Well,
but the wallpaper cost extra. So
anyway, that's the kind of thing. If you're a decent landlord, decent tenant, broadsheet at broadsheet.ie, and if you just put it for the attention of Laura Gaynor, who's really got behind this and really organised it brilliantly the last couple of weeks, I got to hand it to you, Laura.
Have I?
Well done, Laura. We're behind you.
So can I put this to you then, Laura? I know somebody who's coming to Dublin to study for a few months from Germany, Finland. And I was just put in touch with him from a comedy perspective, but he couldn't come to terms with the fact that he couldn't get accommodation in advance of his trip. So I wonder if he was agreeable, if we could use him as a case study of his experience using your site.
He needs to just write out an ad now. So I swear to God, come Monday, Decent Gaffs will be beginning.
Well, I'll have a chat to him. I don't know him. I've never met him. I just talked online.
Get him to write out a sort of an ad for it. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for people to write out ads, a bit like that Lonely Hearts column thing.
I think what we'll do is I'll do it in the morning with you, Laura. We'll do a questionnaire and we'll send it out to. I could use that. What do you think, Neil? Is that?
Yeah, that sounds good. Because he's completely knows nothing about the market here, so it'd be interesting to get someone neutral to it and get their perspective.
Yeah. We should get him on a broadsheet on the telly.
Yeah, we could do that. I don't know the chap.
Oh, right.
So
he's a Finnish comedian. I think there's one, all right.
He's an improviser. That's an improviser.
Johnny's getting his Kevin Myers on.
I like my job, John. I'm saying that.
Vanessa.
Yeah.
Just to remind viewers that Vanessa Foran is a insolvency expert, and a couple of weeks ago we were going through the RT accounts, but this week the payments to the top 10 broadcasters, presenters was revealed. What did you make of it, Vanessa?
First of all, I don't call myself an expert in anything, John, so maybe cake, cocktails. But it's an extraordinary sum of money given the size of the market, really, isn't it? You know.
Well, just to go through the figure, I mean, it's what is it, 10 million for the
3 million for the top
3
10.
million for the top 10.
Yeah. Well, if you were to boil it back as an accountant, you'd go and you'd look and see how much are these guys generating for the organisation. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there was a few of them there. I think, you know, George Lee, I don't see how he's generating much income.
Right.
Do you know, I mean, I suspect Ryan Tubridy generates a lot of income, you know, with his radio and the TV, and, you know, maybe there is 400 grand in added advertising, you know, but I don't see where the contribution is, you know, the gap between the cost and the God almighty. I mean, how
this is the, just to say, this is the list here. If it's, so Ryan Tubridy 495,000, Ray Darcy 400,000, Joe Duffy 389,988.
How do they come up with 389,988?
Well, I think
after tax.
The thing about that list is that it's a reduction on the year before and the year before that and the year before that. So
okay, so it's boiling back. Yeah.
They're boiling back from, I think, 2008 or 2009 at least. Yeah. Was it?
Yeah, but if you go down through the list there, if you go back, say, to Darren Maloney, I mean, does he generate a lot of advertising in his sportscasts?
Darren Maloney is in the top 10.
No, he's brilliant. Yeah. And I've met the guy, you know. I
think he's sports editor. Is he not?
But so's Tony O'Donoghue. Is he on that kind of money?
Oh, yeah. But he's from Cork, so.
He's GA as well.
Marty is nowhere near that list, is he?
Is Marty as a staff member? Marty is a staff member, is that right? Or is he?
Yeah, but it's a mix of contractors and employees, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
But see, they're all the paying ones are from Dublin, so you know it's a two-tier society there.
But Darcy's from Kildare. Where are you going?
Yeah. Well, that's Dublin essentially, isn't it?
Oh, right.
But Vanessa, so as an accountant, you would say, right, these companies effectively, say Marion Finucane Inc. is supplying her services, her broadcasting ability.
Yeah.
From that, we get X amount in advertising.
Yeah, but is there a lot of income generated on those off-peak times? Was she Saturday and Sunday? I thought off-peak, surely peak is the 1 o'clock news, the morning, you know, drive time.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not, I've never worked in media, you know, but, you know, like if somebody's, it's like a partner in a firm. If you're billing so many hours from big ticket clients, of course you're going to get paid more than the junior.
I think the listenership.
Does that make sense, guys?
The listenership is public, is in the public domain, though, so we should be able to compare the amount of listeners they have with their salary and see if it stacks up.
Yeah, and that's where I think Tubridy is probably might feel a bit shortchanged compared to Joe Duffy or Marion.
Wouldn't there be an argument, and there is the argument, that you could put like a tub of lard on the Late Late presenting it. It'll still get a certain amount of.
Something's going to happen tonight. I can feel it. Thank God for playback.
You know, it would be more interesting to see the income matched with each of their broadcast hours. I mean, like if you look at Darcy's on at 3 till 4:30. Now he's ruined the afternoon for me now, and that's just me. But I mean, that's not a big sell for advertising, is it? Surely it would be the drive time or just before the 1 o'clock news.
Yeah, okay, so but there's also the fact that you could have Johnny or Neil could present the Late Late, and still you'd get big numbers.
Which is it though, John? Me or Johnny? Make a choice.
We could be the answer taken out of our team, Neil.
But I mean,
I know you're saying, John. You're saying it's not the person; it's the show.
Totally.
As in,
yeah, like
it's an institution, and what they've done with it. Sorry to cut across, John. It's a product show. It's a product placement show. Whoever's selling the book, and usually, look at all the people that have come through Dublin in the last year with films and have not gone anywhere near the late. They do. Like, it's so embarrassing when you look at well, not embarrassing really, it's just a fact, what Graham Norton has on his couch on a Friday, and then you turn it over to the late. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but they have a bigger market and a bigger budget to spend.
I understand that, but there's still interesting people in Ireland.
No, I agree. I agree. I mean, sometimes the guests are not up to par, but
it was always what happened on the Late Late Show. It wasn't who was on the Late Late Show, because if there was a debate, a discussion, exactly, Vanessa, and people would be talking about, and it was like it still can be. They have to claw that back. And
I agree. Yeah. I think they need to go back. Well, look, as a viewer, not just as a commentator here, is that I think they need to go back to the aggressive debates like they had, with if anyone remember Barry Rose, and back in, was it 25 years ago, with on Gay Byrne and Mother Teresa on, I mean, if Mother Teresa was alive today, what would Tubridy ask her about?
Does she like Blur Oasis? Probably.
Yeah, something like that.
Is that a tea towel on your head?
Johnny.
Anyway, Johnny.
Moving on to Kevin Myers.
But Vanessa,
can I just say something about the director's pay? It's just, I actually wonder why they're paid at all, because charities aren't allowed to pay their directors, and neither accredited unions are allowed to pay their directors. And it just strikes me that it's a semi-state, and it is subvented heavily, like, say, a hospital or, and a charity would be, for services. So I just want to put it out there, maybe, why are they paid at all, rather than Maya gets paid twice what the others get paid? And there was something else I wanted to put out there, was that there's 12 on the board. That's an even number. That's very unusual. It's nearly always required to be an odd number. I certainly know the central bank want an odd number on anyone that's regulated by them. There has to be an odd number. So I just wanted to leave that with either the panel or for the board to pick up on if it's worth taking it further. But it would be something I would argue with for myself.
Yeah, you mentioned that Moya Doherty, who's the chair of the RT Authority, is she's paid $3,000 a meeting. Isn't that right, Vanessa?
Oh, where did I go wrong, John?
Is that Riverdance?
Yeah. She gets paid $3,100 a meeting, Johnny.
Wow.
Plus expenses.
She taps into that.
Yeah. Well, I suppose it'd be interesting to see if she got any tax relief, non-domicile over the years, or artist exemption reliefs. And now, a heavily subvented state body is paying her $3,100 to attend a meeting. Now, I know on Broadsheet somebody commented about her attending other meetings like the Remuneration Committee and the Audit Committee and stuff like that. But so do charity directors, and so do credit union directors. They do all that as well. It's a requirement, to have these subcommittees. And the other thing is that I think it also appeared on the main board was about how Moya Doherty is Dee Forbes' boss. Now, the theory is all directors are actually equal on the board, one man, one vote, and that Moya Doherty is just there to steer the meeting, stick to the agenda, probably sign the documents, sign the minutes once they're approved, sign the annual accounts. That's her additional responsibility. But as a director, she has the same vote on the board as Angus McGreena does. And that's another thing. Why is RT paying him his director's fees? Why isn't his union?
Right.
If there is to be fees. So they're just things that twigged my eye, I mean, it's a 140 odd page document. The financial statements are basic enough.
Yeah.
But,
and there were other
I think it's an
directors.
argument worth having, to be honest.
And didn't you say, because I remember your post, Vanessa, and didn't you say that there were other directors and they would also get something like 1,600?
Yeah, the other directors are paid 1,600 a meeting.
And how many directors are there? Sorry.
12 altogether, including Maureen Doherty's 12.
And how many meetings?
10 a year. 10 board meetings, and then the audit committee probably meets once or twice a year. The remuneration committee probably only meets once a year.
Yeah, I thought
maybe twice. It'd be in the minutes. It'd be in their memos and articles of association and all that. But maybe it's worth getting to look at their minutes and see how long their meetings are, because in a credit union you could be there 3.5 4 hours.
Yeah, I think we're looking at huge change in RTE now. I think this is it. Whether Moya Doherty and Dee Forbes are the people to execute those changes. I would say that the big problem is the advertising and the dual nature of the arrangement. Yeah. Firstly, no media company can make any money in Ireland because RTE just swallows all the advertising dollar.
But what's interesting about RTE is I think it's one of the biggest, if not the biggest, like the rate they take in their whole own budget, like it's very, very close to 50% comes from advertising. So then they're one of the most, if not the most commercially funded national broadcasters in Europe.
Well, their financial statements do split their income from license fee income and commercial, product income, what they've sold and what they've generated themselves, so that is split out. It is all there in the financial statements, but there's more interesting information in the notes, particularly what they spend. I think I said that in the post a few weeks ago, what they spend on overseas suppliers. I just think that 22 million might be better off spent, a local startup down in Kilkenny or.
Yeah, Vanessa.
Good idea, Vanessa.
Yeah, but you said in the piece that if this was the Olympics payment,
I would take it back. Yeah. But I don't think it is.
Wow, amazing, isn't it?
I actually don't think it is, because I think that's a part of their license. I don't think that money is included there, because it would have been included in the notes if they got the Olympics for 22 million.
Sure.
I think it's part of special buy-ins, like the World Cup and things like that. But I just think 22 million I think there's a better way to spend that locally.
Rather than, of course, yeah. I mean, Laura, I think could probably think of a few ideas, and also there's movies. You could actually make movies with that, like Channel 4 used to do.
I mean, I'd say they could do 3 or 4 pilots a year, no problem. And even if they're no good,
exactly, yeah,
it doesn't matter.
With the RTE, it's a massive thing. This goes on every year. They split off for the summer, and we start talking about their salaries. Yeah. And by the time they come back in September, it's like the doll. Everything's forgotten. A new slate. We're starting all over again. But here's the thing. Someone like Nicky Byrne finishes with Westlife, and he gets a gig with 2FM. Nepotism is alive and well. We don't have to go through the people who work there. There's an awful lot of qualified people leaving college with degrees that will never get a look in an RTE. RTE refuses to play any serious amount of Irish music to help starving artists. So what does it do as a national broadcaster? It's a joke. It really has to be. I think we should have a segment every 5 minutes a week or something, like Clampers in Broadsheet today. Brilliant. 5 years ago, Ray D'Arcy grilled Marion Finucane, right? Yeah. Only recently, D'Arcy had Dunphy on. Dunphy said, "You've almost 500,000." Says, "I've nothing near that." So they hate. Ray D'Arcy hates talking about how much money he's on, but he's obsessed with how much everyone else is on. Yeah. And that interview that he had with Marion Finucane, he grilled her. As it says, "That's your fault, Marion, but how much you on?" How much you on? Absolutely, very spiteful.
Yeah.
And
sorry, Johnny, Neil wants to come in.
Yeah, I just to play devil's advocate for a moment, because here we are on a panel, and we have somebody very talentedly is able to scrutinize the accounts and all of that. So there is a level of transparency with RTE that we don't necessarily see with other state-related bodies. And the question comes up again about accountability. So, we can talk about it till the cows come home. Ray Darcy can come back to a few years ago and grill Marion, poor old Marion. But ultimately, what difference does it make? Like, where is the change going to come from? I mean, the reason we're having this conversation is because we pay €160 every year to watch the telly, whether we're to have a telly. And that's what kills us. If they were a company that didn't get a TV license fee, we wouldn't really give a shit what they did with the money. So that's the issue, is the accountability. It kind of feels like, certainly from what Vanessa, the light she shone on it, shone, is that a word? Shined on it. I've never gone through the accounts beyond what I'd see in the paper. But if it's there in black and white, so what difference, and I don't mean this in a smart way, but what difference is it making? Where does the accountability stop and start? Well,
I think actually, sorry, I'm dominating this conversation, but if the report is huge. I mean, the AIB annual report wouldn't be a tenth of it, and it's all very glamorous and well produced and glossy, and they're talking about themselves too much and not presenting the information.
Yeah, and again, so who do we like? Is there a function within the state that oversee, like an audit, an audit function to oversee whether that's appropriate or that's good value for Irish tax-paying money?
I think they'd be afraid to audit it, because I mean, ultimately, the people that would make the decisions are fearful of RT as well. I mean, if they don't get on the couch with Marion or Tubridy and somebody else does. I mean, I was reading there in Phoenix about Timmy Dooley being taken out of the public airways in favour of other people. I think that's probably going through a lot of these legislators' minds. I would think so.
Yeah, I think we put too much stock into the salary of presenters and not enough focus on the overall operation of the company. I mean, I'm not a big fan of some of the presenters, but I don't, people in show business, and that's what it is at the end of the day, even though, there's a public body element to it. They're in show business and they command higher salaries, like it or love it. I mean, to your point, Johnny, about Nicky Byrne, I mean, Nicky Byrne had star power before he married into the Ahern family, and he has a level of charisma. He's a safe bet as a host, and that's why we don't see a lot of shuffling of new talent in RTE, unfortunately.
That's the point, exactly, Neil. We don't see enough.
Yeah, we don't.
They go around between the three stations, between News Talk, Today FM, and RTE. Like there's no one else like that.
That's where
all the producers on BBC, unbelievable, that are from Ireland.
Yeah, there's a lot.
For Australia, America, Canada.
But
the best producers in the world are Irish, and they'll never get into RTE.
But there are some young presenters, though, not to be sorry to jump across, Vanessa. There are some young presenters in RTE that do really great work, and that aren't, it isn't nepotism, that do great work. But, we need to see more of that.
I think they're molded. They're very conservative. RT is too conservative. Even RT2, the rock and roll channel, is very conservative.
I wouldn't say they're conservative. I just think they're a bit protectionist of themselves, really.
Either way, they're shit.
Well, I just want to say, I don't embarrass her, but Laura's here, and Laura has been.
Oh, I can't talk about it.
Doing broadcast, doing broadcasts for everybody, for the last.
Oh, right, okay, sorry. I thought John was asking me about something that I'm.
No.
Well, that's a great. Laura's a great case there for that 22 odd million to invest in. If you're talking about introducing new faces, why not invest in some new people?
But Laura has to apply for jobs abroad now. She's not. The RTE really should snap up somebody like Laura, but they don't get snapped up, and this is not out of any bitterness or rancor. It's obvious that it's what you know, who you know, or who you're related to, frankly, and it's still going on.
Ireland,
but that's also show business. That's the same in a lot of in show business in a lot of countries, though.
Well,
RTE is funded by the taxpayer and the license payer. It can't be like that. It has to all be above board through long searches for talent that they used to have. They don't do it anymore. It's a revolving door. It's a load of shit. Call it out as it is.
It's more important than that, I think, in a way, because your TV, your national public broadcaster, the people on it should reflect a bit of the society that you're in, and not just whatever. And really, quite. I mean, I was thinking about it such a lot of money, isn't it, that these guys are on? And
it's all East Coast.
yeah, well, it's not just that, but these people are being paid this kind of money, not just because they have a talent, but because they will not rock any boat. They won't. The reason they're getting the extra gravy is because they'll never say anything that's controversial, particularly. They'll never step out of the establishment line. The behavior of, I'd say, about Joe Duffy, Marion Finucane particularly, Tubridy on the Late Late and on his own show, and Darcy are so snug, so
smug,
but snug within the established.
They're made.
But so completely myopic in terms of just the day-to-day crap that we're going through. I mean, Johnny, we were speaking the other night, and I don't want to divulge, but you know, it's a bloody struggle, and it's been a struggle. Olga will tell us, like, for 7 years on the site anyway, and for Johnny for the last 10 years. I mean, it's particularly galling because that period. I don't know if you know that book King Rat. At the end of the war, they'd know if the prisoners, which were the snitches and which were the well-fed American prisoners in the POW camps. You know, when the Allied soldiers came in. Sorry, this is very elongated, but they'd come in and they'd say, okay, who prospered here in a prisoner of war camp? And so was the well-fed, and that's the way I feel about this lot. They just seem completely detached from people's struggles. They were always defensive and prickly about their own wages, which are it's public money effectively. And every ad, if it's not for Riverdance at the Gaiety Theatre, it's for pay your bloody license fee. Anyway, I don't want to go. But if these people would reflect, they don't look like us even. They don't act like us. It's sort of, they go to Clifton, that's considered,
But also, if the board of directors are getting, if one of them is getting $3,000 and the other's getting whatever 12 or 1,600 every meeting they go to, I mean, that kind of says it all. Like, I was much more concerned about those figures than I was about the salary figures.
Yeah.
Personally.
I think, I actually think it's worth making a conversation go on about it. I don't understand why they're paid at all, firstly. I don't understand. I think there's a good argument for them not to be paid. That's where I'm coming from. And there's just some minor things in there that just don't stack up. And going back to the salaries, you need to match it with the income they're generating to see, are they worth that kind of money? As I say earlier, it's like partners in a firm.
Well, I would say
generating that kind of income.
Yeah. Well, Vanessa, I would say, I don't know, I would say like Sean O'Rourke is a really world-class broadcaster. He's absolutely brilliant, technically and with the guests and stuff like that. But he's so conservative, and it's just mind-boggling. We spoke about Marion Finucane, didn't know who Alan Partridge was. Sean O'Rourke was talking about drugs, and they were with the guy who does the courts. I don't know, that's Paddy.
Oh, Paddy! How has somebody not given him a dig?
But they were talking about drugs, and the guy had been caught for. And was he smoking? He was smoking outside the court, Sean. My God, was he now? What is he? Oh, was he smoking a spliffy? And Paddy O'Gorman, who you would assume knows that it's a spliff, and
I'd love if he ever turned up down in a tie. I'd love to see how he gets on.
I don't know, but you felt your heart just sank. I mean, if the guy who hangs around courts doesn't even know that, and then the leading broadcaster of the channel doesn't, Anyway, sorry, I'll go.
No. I think, yeah. I wonder how that can change, though. How can, like, I'm just thinking back to like newspapers in Cork, because I'm from Cork. The Evening Echo and the Examiner, that was famous for, you had to know someone to get in there, and it's not the case anymore. I think the Irish Times would have had the same reputation. I don't know if it's still the same.
Olga, could that be, because I'm from Cork as well, and I wonder, could that be because there's very few staff there now? They're all contractors and suppliers.
Yeah, but maybe
you know?
10, 15. Yeah, but maybe 10 or 15 years ago. Like I think I worked in the Echo in 2000 actually, I think it was. Or no, sorry, 2003 or something. So that's going back. And even then, I remember someone saying to me, "So who did you know?" Like, you know, but I didn't know anyone. So it has gone through a change. No, it is. Yeah, but I wonder, for RTE, how does it go through that transition?
It's new faces, bringing in new people.
It takes time.
That 22 million would be far better invested.
Yeah.
If you look at the trends,
well, yeah, okay. The presenter of the Late Late Show, his grandfather was the chairman. His grandfather was the chairman of the RTE Authority.
Yeah,
he had set up RTE, right?
Yeah,
you know what?
But I mean, that's bizarre. Like Graham Norton is not the grandson of the BBC, you know, Lord Reith or something.
No. He's from Bandon.
You know, and Philip is Miles Dungan's nephew and our cousin, and I mean, we could go on. And in the Irish Independent, Kevin Rafter wrote the official history of the Irish Independent, authorised by the Irish Independent. In it says, up to the 1990s, the policy was to only employ family, relatives, and our people one knew very, very closely.
That's control. That's actually conflict of interest by the definition.
Yeah,
you're able to control because you have bias and familiarity. So that's actually breach of conflict of interest right across the board. But it doesn't pass any audit test.
But Laura, I was talking to Laura the other week, and I was saying I mentioned this fact about the Independent and saying that people who were doing journalism, say in the 80s and 90s in Ballymun and, you know, whatever, Rathmines, they probably would not have known of that was an actual policy, you know. And Laura probably doesn't know the policy of RTE, which is a policy. There is, you know, friends and relatives will get preferenced for jobs in RTE, and I think we can prove it if we go through the RTE family tree, you know. Sorry, Johnny.
No, I think Laura was going to say something there. Sorry.
Big one.
No, I was just listening.
Okay. Well, I think it's changing. I really do.
I think it is.
If you look at Ray D'Arcy Saturday Night Show and you go on the Twitter machine, like if I was producing Ray D'Arcy show, I'd have about 5 researchers tweeting, "Oh, great show tonight, Ray." Blah blah blah. There's not even one. It's just a landslide of dogs abuse. Same thing for the Late Late Show. This is the power. We have the power now. We are the media. So therefore, anyone can do Ryan Tubridy's job. It's as simple as that. Just get interesting guests on, and then they'll have the debate themselves.
I disagree.
Well, that's fine, Neil. Fair enough. I don't think he was brought in out of nowhere. He started off on 2FM.
Let's not just pick on him. I mean, Marion Finucane.
Well, why not?
Yeah, I mean,
why not? He's the kingpin. He's getting the most money. Is he earning it? Let's have Ryan Tubridy on the broadsheet to tell us how good he is, or maybe just say how he can.
As Vanessa said, I'm not defending Tubridy, but as Vanessa said, you could probably argue that toy show alone was probably bringing his weekly, his monthly.
Well, I think
shit, John. We're talking about an institution. The Late Late Show is an institution. Sorry, Vanessa. Yeah, go on.
Johnny, I think you need that type of management information first before you could argue whether he's value for money or not. With regard to sort of the fact is the conservative bias that's there, and the fact that they're all related, that's a huge risk, by the way.
Okay,
that's a conflict of interest. But I think at that point then there has to be a movement for them to have so many new hires a year that are not connected.
Yeah.
That's a recruitment policy that they would probably accept because their own status quo is protected. So if they just,
I don't want to go down that route, Vanessa. Like it's like we're talking about Today FM or something that Dennis O'Brien owns. We own RTE, okay? So for example, I'm having to go at Ryan Tubridy because he's the most paid broadcaster in that on the Late Late Show. The Late Late Show is an institution. This year, when we're back and it's cold winters, I want to hear something on a Friday night that's going to make me think that there's a debate going on in this country. And that's what the Late Late was about. And I know right well it's going to start with product placement and that fucking racist bitch that came over from England that was paid to come over and start being a biggest. What's her name? You know, she's with the LBC radio in England now. She was paid, right, to come over.
Yeah,
and give us shit on the Late Late Show. What's that about? Like, you know,
it's called that's called trolling.
That's how far the Late Late has gone. Okay, so,
brought her down a peg or two on that interview, didn't he?
Doesn't matter. She shouldn't have been on the show.
I have to agree with Johnny that like those bringing over, you know, your. It's like a pantomime villain.
It gets viewers.
It's just to wind us up.
It is to wind us up, but it gets viewers.
Right, Neil. Okay, right. I've been talking about a serious institution. What it was, what Gabe Byrne turned it into, was a debate that the whole country. We're unique in this country. We can actually look at a show for 2 hours. That's what we used to do, and we can debate that over the course of a week. And that means that everyone is engaged. Now, by not doing that, they're doing a great disservice to me, and I guarantee you, the majority of people who look at Late Late Show. That's one flagship program. That's all I care about in the Late Late or RT. I couldn't give a rat's ass what to do with the rest. Take them down a peg, cut half their wages for a start, but put the Late Late back to what it was about. Before it was product placement and putting people on flogging books and shit.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying, Johnny. Just like just getting back to the advertising thing. You know, if you take. I don't necessarily agree that you can take Tubridy out and put anyone on the Late Late Show and it'll still get the viewership, because look what happened when Pat Kenny was running the ship.
It's their biggest asset. The Late Late is probably outside their biggest asset. It's probably their biggest asset.
Sorry, Vanessa. Neil, Pat Kenny show was exactly the same as, I mean, in terms of it didn't crumble in the ratings or anything.
I thought the viewership. Well, maybe I'm wrong. I thought the viewership was going down.
No, I mean it'll always hit that 500,000, and you know the toy show gets almost 1 million. You know, it'll always have that. As I say, even if you put like a jar of Marmite on it, you know.
I'll have to look that up now, because I thought that was one of the reasons why he left. And I like Pat Kenny, actually. I think he's a good presenter. But you know, the Gay Byrne, the Late Late Show, the Gay Byrne era, and what Tubbs does with it now. You know, they're two different formats. Like Tubridy has a more casual magazine style show, and he's got a following. I know, you know, we can get a sense of who, you know, people like him or don't like him on the panel. But if you look at the Late Late Show hashtag on Twitter, he's got a huge following, and he's liked by a lot of people. And you know, again, that's putting whatever the equivalent of bums on seats is for TV. You know,
they follow a Twitter feed on while the Late Late Show is going on.
Yeah.
Have you ever followed? Well, then, like, you know what it says, just 90% of it is slagging it off.
Yeah. It's slagging it, yeah. Well, but that's not maybe a fair representation of everyone who watches it.
But Neil,
that's the Twitter thing.
Neil, you do performance, the improvisation. You must see more talent in an evening than.
Well, you do, but like that's like improv is this thing. You know, it's the same all around the world. There's a lot of talented people in it, but it's an art form that doesn't translate well to TV, so you don't really see it on television. But you know, in the States, it's got, you know, a lot of people who study improv go on to host TV shows. Like Jimmy Fallon is an ex-improviser. Saturday Night Live obviously recruit from the improv theaters in Chicago and LA and that. You know, so there's a bit more evolved there. But you know, we have a small growing improv community in Dublin, but we've got a fair bit to go before we catch up with the likes of the States. Yeah. But you know, there is a talent that there is a young talent. There's a small growing young talent there in RTE that, you know, have great potential. But are we going to see this change on a larger scale? I don't think so. Like, one of the things I would like to see as part of making those small changes in RTE is to set up a spin-off independent RTE run TV station like Channel 4 was. Yeah. Set aside a budget for producing Irish content, allow presenters select the format of their own shows, and let that run and see how it goes. If it fails and it flops, well, then this conversation is kind of redundant. I don't think it will, but see what comes out of that. One of the biggest gripes I have, and I'm going tangential here, with a lot of Irish produced content is it tends to be Irish shows as opposed to a show set in Ireland. And if you look at shows like Fad or Ted, which I know wasn't first broadcast on RTE, but that show didn't travel very far beyond Ireland or the UK. So I'd like to see a lot of we need to move away in terms of Irish content, move away from Irish content and move toward content that just happens to be made in Ireland or produced or set in Ireland.
That's a good point there. Yeah. Just quickly on that point, John.
Very quickly,
we took on The Voice, we took on X Factor, bought them, and that's a franchise. So there was one show, I think it was conceived in Ireland, that was called The Hit, and it had one season. And out of that, an original songwriter wrote a song for Finbar Fury, and it became #1 in the Irish charts. Now that only had one season, so why didn't it run for a few seasons?
No idea. Yeah.
Do you know what was Do you know what was an Irish creation as well, and it travelled very well? Was the lyrics board? Yeah. That with John Keogh and
Angus McAnally, was it?
Angus McAnally,
yeah, which is
like Kevin Hawke.
Can I talk about that?
Yeah, do.
No, we'll talk about next week.
Go on to Mars.
No, because we're kind of running out of time, and I want to get to all.
Shout out to Joe Duffy and Ryan Tuberty to come on Broadsheet next week.
Ring Joe Duffy tomorrow, Johnny, and ask him.
Well, this is it. Why don't they? They're so something so formalized about everything. There's no relaxed. Like if you have an interview in RT, it's the old Hegelian. He's.
Could Joe Duffy please come to the information desk?
Anyway, but Olga, sorry, I want to go straight to Olga because
just that
Anthony Flynn was going to be on the side of
well, we'd love to get him on, but he's just always working, so he's always on the streets, and so he works with Inner City Helping Homeless, and so it's 4 years old. There's 180 volunteers, and I think he said in the last 3 months they've had something like over 13,000 engagements with people. That's just in 3 months alone. So anyway, just wanted to talk about him because I was talking to him earlier, but he was tweeting last night about how that homeless people who are staying in hotels at the moment are being moved out because of the August bank holiday weekend and because of stuff going on. So it just seems that there's possibly no contingency plan or a lack of contingency plan, maybe lack of communication, who knows. But he talked about how he came across a woman with 3 kids last night, and he said that he was told by a homeless service worker that they would have to go to a Garda station, and also the family were told this. But Focus, the homeless group, have come out and said that nobody had to go to a Garda station. But obviously it's a big deal that people are starting to be told to go to Garda stations, like having to come out of a hotel. But also he's also spoke about how there was a 60-year-old man or 68-year-old man, sorry, I'm not too sure, and his son who was 30, who was severely autistic, and that they were sleeping in a park for 2 weeks. And anyway, they've got them into somewhere now. But he was saying that essentially because of the lack of communication and because of just, there's according to Anthony, that the lack of kind of one-to-one communication with a lot of people on the street, apparently this man and his son were told that they would have to go to different places, that they would have to separate. And so in obviously, and this would have been over the phone, or it wouldn't have been in a one-to-one engagement. So obviously no man is going to leave his 30-year-old severely autistic son fend for himself or whatever. So that's why they slept in a park for 2 weeks, but they're in somewhere now. I just wanted to say that. So he is concerned about the numbers are still increasing. He says that they're going up day by day. He says that the numbers for the amount of people who are homeless in June have still not been out, so they're 3 weeks late now, according to Anthony. And he's just worried about the figures because he said as increasing numbers of people are going into the family hubs, the number of people who are homeless is still increasing. So, how do they count? Do you count someone who's homeless? Someone who's in a hub as homeless or not, or what? But he's really concerned about that. So, but it sounds like they're doing great work. And he wasn't. I asked him. He wasn't being arrogant or anything. But I asked him about the group and what they've done, and he said that they've done a cost analysis and they reckon that they've saved the state €560,000 in the work that they've done. So like for the work that they've done, the engagements that they've done, what they've set up, they believe that that would have cost the state 560,000.
Sorry, Olga, is this based in Dublin City?
Yeah.
So it would be City Council they've saved.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Sorry, I beg your pardon. Yes,
Yeah.
you're right. Yeah.
So just there, and are all these people then have they been helped to fill out the housing application forms? Because I've seen them. Because they can't get social housing unless they're qualified tenants.
Yeah. Well, I don't know that level of detail, Vanessa, but I'll ask them. I'm not sure. But I presume they do, because it seems that one of the main, like, not only do they just, you know, go around and make sure everyone's okay and all the rest, but they do actually actively get them into housing. Like, he spoke of a man who has, it was 2 or 3 daughters there a few weeks ago, and they were in a hotel, I think, for 3 months. And eventually he got them into a house, and they're a house in Swords. But he said that this is a really good story. This is a really positive story, because if it had been just left up to the council, they probably would still be in a hotel. So they must go to that level of.
This is where the approved housing bodies and the local authorities can work very well together, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is case by case. It is case by case that you get your results, you know.
Okay. Well, he also was saying that, like, for what it's worth, he said that they want to work with others. You know, they want to work with the DRHE, it's called, the Housing Executive. Dublin Regional Housing Executive. Yeah. So they want to work together, but I definitely think that today, you know, him saying that these people were told they had to go to Garda stations, and the DRHE saying no, nobody was told they had to go to Garda stations. So there's a lot of, you know, it's not very smooth.
There's definitely a process of when they lose their accommodation, they have to go into the local authority and declare they're homeless with all their bags. And that's when they go into emergency accommodation, or they qualify. And then they also then go into another floor and complete social housing application forms. And then that process, and then they go on to the list, you know, if they qualify. But being on the housing list is a vital part of being housed. It's not just going from hotel room to hotel room.
Yeah, I'm just assuming that he does know that. I didn't ask him those specific questions, but anyway, I just thought that was just worth flagging, given the weekend that's coming up, and like it is really concerning. Like, a man almost 70 with his son.
You see, that case sounds not a million miles from the stories I would hear in my own housing clinic, and it would seem that family would definitely qualify for social housing, and the dad could probably be listed as a carer for his son.
Okay.
But that would certainly that's. You know, you need to see the facts here as well. You know, more so than hearing a third party.
And we hope to have Anthony on the show maybe next week, or one of the Wednesdays, one of the Thursdays. He's not out.
He's just working all the time. Yeah.
We're running very late, but I just wanted to briefly ask about Kevin Mars. I thought I just wanted to go through the panel. Did you think it was the right decision? Just a yes or no. Do you think it was the right decision that Kevin Mars was fired? Johnny?
I would say no.
Neil?
There's a short and a long answer. The short answer is yes.
Okay. Olga?
Fired? No, I didn't think he should be fired. Possibly no.
Laura?
Not sure. Don't know. I don't think I know enough about it, to be honest.
Sure, no problem. Vanessa?
Was he an employee?
You see, you can't get a straight answer.
Yeah, but what if he was an employee? They just don't publish him anymore. I'd say they will publish him again. Should he have been fired if he was an employee? No. If he's just a supplier, I suspect they will publish him again. But I think the editors should be fired. Yes.
The editors, of the Irish edition.
Well, whoever had the product in their hands that caused such offence to the owners of the paper. Yeah, they didn't, you know.
There's an incredible book, Kevin Mars.
What do you think, John? Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, well, I think it was brutal, really. I mean, to to a human being. I thought it was pretty brutal, you know, that they sacked him basically on a Sunday morning. Also, as the thing had been approved. I mean, you know,
Exactly.
I would certainly, if I was an editor, and I would, and this had occurred, I would obviously, you know, walk. But maybe there's stuff that we don't know about here in terms of maybe there was a question, or it had gone to a solicitor, or, you know, or something. I don't know what. There's a book. There's an amazing book, or not an amazing book, but it's a good book. Myers' second memoirs, and he writes about his time at a boarding school, and he was prefect, and there was other prefects, and they were kind of the cool prefects or something, and they were running like gambling system in the. It was a sort of a mid-ranking public school in Britain, and. Anyway, the other prefects were running rackets and numbers games and everything in the school for the whole term, for the whole year. And Kevin had been a very good prefect. And at the end of the year, the head of the prefects said, "Oh, it's been a fantastic year. We've been wonderful prefects." And the headmaster clapped. And young Kevin then went to the headmaster. This is a racket. These guys have been running a whatever.
Supergrass.
They all got expelled.
Whistleblower.
They all got expelled. They all got expelled on their last day of school, which meant back in the 60s in Britain. And they weren't posh, but they were like, you know, to get in there would have cost their parents a lot of money, and they got expelled. And in many cases, he admits it's a terrible, it's desperate sort of. You feel that he was kind of marked by this occasion, because he rang one of the guys 10 years later, and he was like, "Hi, this is Kevin. I'm the guy who I wanted to," and your man just went, "Put the phone."
Oh gosh!
Like his life had been ruined by being expelled. So hearing Kevin, yeah, sorry, go on, John.
Challenging times, John.
Yeah, very challenging.
Do you know the thread on Broadsheet? It was fab. You know, the title was fabulous. Admirers. Yeah. So whoever came up with that should get a Bula Boss.
That was Olga.
No, that was Judith. That was Judith herself.
Oh, the Judith who sent it in. Okay, so
Kevin Myers for Broadsheet next week.
Yeah, well, I mean,
no.
We don't have much time anyway to talk about anything else. We've gone way over time. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. Particularly to the readers and commenters, and even the trolls. You know who you are. And from our panel, the great Johnny Keenan, Neil Curran, great safe pair of hands, Olga Cronin.
I knew.
He missed out on the pet show last week.
It's gorgeous.
We were going to have our pets on last week, and this dog has been waiting for 2 weeks.
Their moment.
Oh, look at him.
What's his name, Neil?
George.
He's
a rescue.
Oh, God. He's
rescued by heart.
But we're going to do next week. We're going to have all our pets on, okay? And Olga Cronin from the Sheet, Laura Gaynor, a young broadcaster, and give her a job, OT. And Vanessa Foran, not Folan, what I said 2 weeks ago. Thank you very much for joining us, and we'll hope to see you on the site tomorrow, or if not, maybe Thursday on Broadsheet on the Telly. Okay, goodbye. Thank you very much.